Yes, I am.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Radio Free Cannabis, coming to you from high in the hills of Oakland, California. Translated into 195 different languages, we are the voice of the global cannabis freedom movement. Thanks so much for your questions and comments. Please keep them coming in. And remember to subscribe to this podcast and to support the companies that help make it possible: Harborside, Liberty Clothing, and Homegrown. We're going to be talking about cannabis in Latin America today. My earliest memories of cannabis are intertwined with Latin America. The very first way that I started making money with cannabis back when I was a teenager was with Santa Marta Gold, a legendary, amazing strain of cannabis from La Sierra de Santa Marta in Colombia. And after that, for, well, many, many, many years, I spent smuggling cannabis out of Mexico until the stuff with the cartels got too weird. And then in 2006, I got licensed by the city of Oakland, and I stopped doing everything illegal then, just sold cannabis legally. So for about 10 years, I didn't really think about cannabis in Latin America very much. I was busy fighting off the federal government here in Oakland, California. It wasn't until I started being invited to some of the very first cannabis conferences that were happening in Latin America that I keyed in and I realized that the spark we lit here in California way back in the 90s has spread all through Latin America. There's a wave of reform going on there, and it's being powered by a really deep and authentic cannabis culture that I'd really never been in touch with before I took my journey in 2019. And today, we are going to be visiting with two of my dearest friends that I made along that journey. Danielle Espinel, who is the founder of Canna Latino, a amazing organization you should definitely check out on all of their platforms. And Polita Pepper. Polita is also a member of Canna Latino and is active in the Latin American Women of Cannabis Association. We're going to be talking a lot about that later on, but we're going to start just with a brief roundup of what's going on in Latin America. What is the state of reform? Which countries are making progress? Which aren't? Polita, why don't you kick us off with that, and then we'll hear the same question from Danielle.
Yes. Hey, thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much, Steve, for the invitation. So just to letting you know, I'm part of Cannativa, which is a Latin American platform from education in cannabis. So when we start in Latin America, we start because we get deported. Pedro and I will get deported from the States, and we came to Mexico, which I am from originally. And we realized that we've been learning about a lot of things about cannabis. We've been growing cannabis since we were teenagers. I started growing at 16, right? But then I moved to California and I learned about the other side of the world. I grew up in a country which is Mexico, which cannabis is full of blood. It's completely related with war, with fear, with a lot of violence. You grew up with the stigma. I grew up in Michoacan, which is the second or third state with more violence presence about the cartels. So in our countries, in Mexico, when you grew up here, in this situation, you are always in touch with cannabis, but in the other side, it's not like cannabis culture that we are making now. It's more about like the violence and fear culture. And so when I moved to California, I started to see and learn different things, the other side of the plant, yeah, right? The bright side of the plant. I start to research about it. So right now I'm writing my PhD dissertation about indigenous communities in Mexico and in Colombia growing cannabis, which is, I realized that, you know, there's geographic situation in the production of cannabis in the world. So Mexico, Colombia, Paraguay, for example, we are growers, right? But who are the Mexican growers? Who are the Colombian growers? There is not like people like me going to university and making PhD dissertations, you know. Our growers are thousands and thousands of indigenous peoples. They are not living better. They don't even make the decision that they want to work with. You know, they just get in that situation because our economy and political system, our governments are not doing right the things. So there's another state living in our countries, just as the official state, and then is the narco state, as we call. And it happens often in Mexico, Paraguay, and Colombia as a growers countries in Latin America, right? Then you have other kind of countries like, I don't know, maybe Brazil or Argentina, which is this kind of transit countries. And then it gets a picture that it's really complicated because Latin America is historically colonized, and it's been colonized since like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So that dynamic, which our countries, Latin American countries, are just the manufacturers of the you know, the main products, and then we export that, and then we buy the products. So it's became a really another interesting plants also. Is not just we are talking about cannabis, but we are talking also about coca leaf. We are talking about also amapola, which is poppy. I mean, I think so. In English, it's poppy, right? Poppy flower. So we are producing that because our system make that illegal to make it expensiver. So in that scene, the communities who are historically growing that because it's part of their culture, get in that really weird situation that they have to keep growing just because it's more valuable, they get more money, you know, for each pound of cannabis or for each pound of coca leaf that they get for corn or potatoes or beans. Then start to getting worse I think it gets to start at the 80s, right? And then at the 90s, I think in Mexico, we get in the worst of the scenarios. And 10 of 20 years after that, it's pretty much the scene that we are seeing. We have actually, Mexico, it's a right country, but it's a narco country. So we are totally, there's no political, economical decision in this country that is not related with this parallel portal, which is not the state, which is the cartels, the narco state. So that makes the situation of the country complicated because we need that part of the economy, and the state, the official state, get totally involved with the narco state. So who are the people who is more affected? There are the indigenous people, which is thousands of communities there that they're still poor, living with doing this work, and other people is making the money. They got not insurance, they got not even decision on how and how much they can produce. They are just told they need to get any amount of cannabis every week, and that's it, you know. So it gets really complicated. In this chain of production, women are occupying different places in this scenario, right? Unfortunately, they are occupying with the less privilege. It's not about just women and the society in Latin America, which is having not these issues. It's also these indigenous women involved in the production of cannabis that they are having a lot of issues, right? So more or less, this is a macro scene of Latin America. We are growing countries, and we get involved in this situation because there's easy here. for big consumers at the United States, right? We have bunch of land, we have really cheap labor, we have thousands of people with no employees, so they are able to work extra hours for less. And we also have historically producers of cannabis. So it gets, and it happens the same with Paraguay and Colombia, for example. So it's just this system, capitalism system, fits perfect in this dynamic. It's just making more complicated the situation with the narco, which is a real thing that we have to talk, even it's not the best size of the cannabis world, which is because also Mexico and Latin America is getting involved in the brightness of the cannabis movement that we are part, but we are also have to name all that thousands of people that are there are like in the war size of the war on wars, and they are like working hard every day, you know, in the shadows of this bright movement about cannabis here in Latin America. So it's more or less my perspective.
Well, that's a very wide perspective. And I think that we can see just how complex the situation is in Latin America. There's a couple of different cannabis cultures that are going on. There are producer countries. There are countries that are mainly transit countries. There's a murky situation going on with the state and with the cartels because nobody really knows what's going on, but everybody knows that something is going on. Um, Danielle, could you give us your perspective on the larger picture in Latin America and maybe talk to us a little bit about what's going on in terms of reform in different countries?
Well, thank you for inviting me here. It's really a pleasure to be part of this, especially in this time, because like you say, when in the 80s and in the 70s and even in the 60s, here in the United States, people were fighting the illegalization of cannabis. We still have a very, very, very wrong idea of what cannabis was. And our culture was led by fear. So we do not believe on anything that any other countries were saying. We do not believe that it's a medicine. We believe it's a drug. To put it in a perspective, a Latino mother will help you if you murder someone. We'll put it in the garden. But if you're selling marijuana, you're get out of the house. You're out of here. So that is the same perspective that we have since the 20s when this illegalization started. Especially because it was very targeted, like Polita said before. We are the people who grow. We are the people who produce. I am originally from Venezuela, and my country is one of these trafficking countries that drugs we don't produce, but we let cross. And that also teach me a lot of things, you know, and I can see a lot of situations. I've been also in different countries in Latin America. I live in Peru as well. My dad is from Argentina, so I live there. And now I'm here in the United States, where I can see a completely different type of culture about cannabis. The way that we see cannabis here in the United States, it have more logic, it make more sense. So definitely, I think every country in Latin America that is pushing forward for this legalization and to get as well the best industry in this new industry that is also, you know, it can help also the world because it's biodegradable, because all the good things that we already know. These are things that we don't know in Latin America. So every country that is pushing forward for the legalization, I think is in a good way for me. And I'm definitely supportive.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We've been talking about the cartels and you know what a strong role they play. But we have countries like Colombia and like Mexico that are moving to legalize cannabis, or at least reform cannabis laws in the direction of a legal industry. What do the cartels think about legal cannabis?
Well, I think it's tricky because cannabis, of course, it's a plant that is not as addictive as cocaine or as any other substance that, of course, the cartels distribute and can, like have more people hooked. That it's still a very good amount of money that they have. So I think, from my perspective, that it have to be a situation where we can talk with the cartels and with the government, because like Polita said as well, these people are been doing this production. They have the knowledge. And why do you have to waste all the knowledge? I'm looking for a piece. I'm not saying anything crazy. And I know it's super hard what I am saying right now, almost impossible. But in my world, like Alice in Wonderland, it could happen. And it could happen as well if we educate everyone and every, single one of us in our country. We can definitely have better industry that we can all participate, not just the government or the narco. This is a plant that it have to be for the people and for the real owners of the land, the people who are born in that place. And again, I was, I'm from Venezuela. I'm frontier with Colombia. I know exactly what you were saying. I grew up with cartels news every morning in my TV, or, even close to my house. But as well, it's a different world. And right now we have as well the science. So I think we can find the way if we are educated enough.
And Polita, you're right there in the heart of it, Michoacan. How do you think the cartels are going to react as legalization starts moving forward in Mexico? Will they try to stop it, or will they try to become a part of it? Is there a realistic opportunity to welcome all of the small indigenous producers who have been supplying the cartels into a legal system?
Well, it's a really interesting question, Steve, because it's really complex question. Also, I have some some things that I think we can share here, which is like reality is complex and it's full of different perspectives, right? So in one perspective, I think the cartels, the narco state, it's already in the scene. I mean, they are already being part of this regulation. They are really being taking places. They are really talking with politicians. They are not on a sphere of weird people living in their huge houses. They are being, they are making, they are, I don't know how to say, they are a really important part of people. They are being considered when other people is writing laws. For example, the narco state, it's already being part of the movement in so many ways. These narco people, these leaders of the cartels are also leaders or big other business, legal business. So they are people that are active in the political culture in our countries. They are making money in so many legal business also. So they are an active part of that, so it's really, it's in some level, they are already there. They are getting information about how legalization is going to be if they are taking their role, and who it's going to be there, and of course they will be there for sure. So in which way is the main important thing? Who cannabis for who? Of course, the cartels are taking part because they are already there, and they are not just part of the political movement of legalization. They are being part of the political movement in anything in Mexico. They are, I mean, they are being part of everything, they're pretty much control the country. So for sure, they're gonna be here. In which way is the thing I think we can make our predictions. I think they are really interesting. There are so many. field research. So I'm being realized that there's so many cartels working in cannabis production real close that legal countries are doing in order to just get ready for when the legalization starts. So they are like making their operation with the really close to the way it's supposed to be. They are starting producing greenhouses. They are starting cloning. They are starting to stabilizing genetics. So they are in the scene. So there are other kind of level because there's some different level of production. You have the fields like the more often we see, which is thousands of plants, females, males, whatever, everybody together joining the nature in the mountains of Mexico, which is full of cannabis. And you have also the next level of production, which is like greenhouses, in which you have also the next level of production, which is like big operations indoor, like kind of indoor, like kind of greenhouses, but with high technology, which is coming from the States, because these people have a lot of money, as we can remember. So they have all the resources to start growing in different levels. So they are getting there. They are already there. So how? I think the question that you point is more how, like, we people, like normal people, so are going to change from the narco state to the legalization, and we have to be more politically active about this, because this scene is pretty much taken by the big business industry, and for the narco or cartels of whatever you want to call it, this illegal industry, who is talking about our place, people place, this historically producers place, the woman place, the consumers place. This is the more delicate situation, I think. But of course, they are already being part of the legalization.
You know, your words really resonate for me because when I think about legalization in Mexico, I'll tell you that there are times that I've almost felt guilty about pushing legalization forward because I think about the people that I used to buy cannabis from, the Sierreños, the people who live up in La Sierra de Mexico. These are people who fled for a number of reasons from mainstream society and went way up into the mountains where almost nobody else will go. And they're fiercely independent people. They have a hard scrabble existence. They grow, in some cases, some really great weed before it gets butchered, being smuggled into wherever else it's going. And I worry about them because they were beautiful people who took very good care of me in very dangerous situations. And I hope that whatever happens in Latin America and Mexico, that the people who have been suffering under prohibition, not the cartels who have been making a huge amount of money, but the people who have actually been putting the plant into the ground for all of these years. I think all of us really hope that there's a way that they'll be welcomed into the industry, not just welcomed into the industry, but given an equitable place in the industry. May that all be so. Thinking about these two cultures, these two parallel cultures of cannabis in Latin America, Danielle, could you give us a little bit more insight? It seems that um, some of the change that we're seeing in Latin America with attitudes towards cannabis is being driven by people like you who and Polita who have had an opportunity to be here to see the changes and then carrying it forth. But I was just amazed, both in Mexico and in Colombia, by the huge numbers of young people with dreadlocks listening to reggae music, talking about one love, adopting plant-based diets, having a very different kind of idea of gender relationships. Um, uh, could you tell me a little bit more about that other cannabis scene? Where does it live? How does it operate? How do our audience learn how to link up with it?
Well, I think it's part of the culture of the same education that I've been talking about since the beginning. We are also Catholics, and Rastas take the Leviticus as the first book. So what we know about cannabis and the culture of the Rasta is well known through religions. We're looking for faith through these plants. We're looking for something to believe. And I think that is something that all humanity is looking, and as well, the way to express themselves and the way to be who we are. So we have all this new culture in Latin America called Latin X, where we can definitely be whoever we want to be. If you want to be, it doesn't matter the gender, it doesn't matter the color, it doesn't matter, what stopped you before. Right now, we have the same rights, and we have the same right as well to feel the same way as any other human being. It's a little bit, I think, to put ourselves in other people's shoes and understand that we are all united, like every single religion has been saying, it's not just me. And as well, I think it's very important because this bring a lot of women that are working in the industry, that are working in the fields as well, and a lot of mothers, sisters. It doesn't matter, like this start with mothers, but it doesn't matter the gender right now. People are saying, no, well, the plant is female. The plant is for us, for humanity, and we are as well for the same reason. So I think it's a big opening, not just to know about cannabis, but know about ourselves and what we can do better in the world and in our hearts.
Polita, one of the things that we had an opportunity to do together in Mexico was to go to not just one, but actually a couple of different cannabis cups, and I was really struck by that later on, finding out how many other cannabis cups there are, and could you talk a little bit about that scene, because it seems like there's just a huge amount of activity going on in Mexico right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. Like cannabis, actually, and it's not just Mexico. I think it's a Latin American movement. Like in Argentina, for example, like cannabis cup starts 20 years ago. So we're the other side. Let's talk about the other side of the cannabis movement, right? This different side, which is pushing forward the whole perspective of the plan, which is love, liberation, emancipation, and freedom, which is really the path of the plan that we actually really learn for people as you, between other masters. So this like a growing culture, but in some countries like Chile or Argentina they start making cannabis cup 20 years ago. So we are talking about 20 years of making illegal cannabis cup in Latin America. Then you have so many countries: Brazil, Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, making cannabis cups in different situations. In Mexico, we start the official because it's not official, because it's still illegal, because guess what? Everything is still illegal in Mexico. So we start making more noise about cannabis cups like 2 years ago, because cannabis movement also in Mexico, activism, the symbols of activism in Mexico is taken finally by people who wants to show that we growers are also good people. We are also people doing other works. We are also studying, we are also teaching, we are also cannabis educators. So in order to put that scene to the world, we decide to get on the eye of the hurricane, as they say, because we are not doing anything wrong, because we are using that argument that if we wanna be users which free of that violence that we've been talking about until now, we have to grow our own. It's the only thing in places which still illegal, it's the only way to keep our hands free. It's the only way to tell our mothers, our sisters, our neighbors, and all the people that this is a plant. It grows in our homes, and we gather. Cannabis cups, as you well know, is just a gathering of people who grow weed and wanna learn more. You wanna like talk about genetics, and when you wanna exchange clones, you wanna talk with people like you, because we've been behind the scene, behind the computer and the growers, cannabis cafe, or all that places, with not even using our names, because we've been afraid of telling the world that we are growing our own medicine, because cannabis is our medicine, it's our sacrament, it's part of it from our tribe, and we are just making community um, grow, you know? So it's been really interesting. I'm really happy that you came the last COP. And that thing, it's also making our movement grow, because when people from other places with other perspectives come to our communities, we grow. When you talk your histories about like bunch of thousands of histories of being in illegal situations, and then you became that figure that you are now, that educator, that master that you are now, that's just inspire not just growers, as means inspire moms, and inspire thousands of people that are seeing that video on Facebook to look, there is something else. There's some other kind of different people involved. They are just having fun. They are just growing plants. It's all about that. They make a competition for people for growing plants. And yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just a celebration. And it's not just about competition, because it's about the pretext to get together to celebrate our culture, this size of the culture. I would love to in some years, hope not too far, we've been together again, talking with us, with people from other countries, from other royals, our historical ruins that we also going to visit in Colombia with the NASA, or you guys when we were to Santa Marta, or here when you were to Oaxaca, and just gather in the same cup to keep learning and sharing, because we are just celebrating that we grow a plant. And most of that view, it's been inspired for so many people as you that been telling us that we have not to stay anymore in the shadow. We have to speak louder, that we are just growing a plant. That plant is part of our freedom.
It's so powerful the way that we inspire each other. You were inspired by me coming to Mexico. I was so charged up and energized and just joyous to see what was going on in Latin America. It was such a validation of the way that I've spent my life. And I was really struck for the audience. We had an opportunity, the three of us, to be a part of a group of people who was moving around together, various different cannabis events. And we came from all around the world, from like 20 different countries, and had different religions, different colored skins, spoke different languages, uh, occupied different places in our respective societies. But we meshed together instantly. We got to know each other. I mean, I felt like I was home. I felt like I was with people that I'd been in a hippie commune with for years and years. It was just so comfortable, like your most comfortable pair of old jeans slipping on. And coming away from it, I came up with this idea you've probably heard me talk about before, called One Tribe. The idea now that there's hundreds of millions of us all around the world who have been touched by this plant, who have had the same experiences, and we've developed a common value system. And that makes us really one people, one tribe. And, sometimes it was such a powerful feeling for me. I just have to check in with some of the people I was with, is how was that all real? Danielle, was that all real?
Yes, yes, it was. It was magical for everyone who had the chance to experience that. And that exactly feeling that Polita was describing in the cannabis cup is exactly what we need to give as well to other people. Let them know that we are not criminals. We are not doing anything wrong. We didn't have anything horrible. We even have dogs and cats and kids in the street that are taking cannabis today. So why not have these special places where you can go and get education and get information and know what other peoples are growing. One of the things that is also super important is that we as mothers of cannabis patients, we have to learn how to grow our medicine for our kids. And the best way to learn all this, because there's really, not all over the world, we have a system of education, a cannabis university, or something that it can really give you sometimes even the basics. So these cannabis cups underground or whatever they do with it, they're really the first step sometimes for mothers to save their kids' life or their parents or someone that you love, because you're going to have the information there of how to grow a clean, a good. They're looking for the best of the best. They are learning from the best of the best, like you. So it's really magical going there and have all of you guys and be part of this tribe, because it really, I really feel it. Look, I'm all chinita.
Yeah, the same thing. Every time I think back on those times and the energy, it gives me so much power and so much determination to move forward, so much joy. How did that feel for you, Polita?
Yeah, I share a lot with you the same feelings, you guys. I think it's really important that we get empowered, and we are like in this Latin American movement, we are being honored, not just, our all our ancestral people who are in touch with like entheogens and these power plants. We are being honored them, honor the plant, but we are also being honored thousands of peoples who have been fighting for the put this size of the cannabis into the world, because prohibition, it's been so strong in so strong base in the stigma, that it's not just that we cannot use cannabis as we want to, is that we being stigmatized um, with this all of propaganda of Latin Americans or like Black people. And there's so many issues involved in that prohibition: colonial, extractivism, colonialism, even machismo. Get involved, so we've been honored, just not all of these our ancestors who are historically honored power plants. We are also honored when we gather as today and we speak loud. We are being honored, all of thousands of people that like in other decades as you or Paul Stanford, or so many people risking their lives for being speaking loud about the plan. But we are also honored thousands of people in the shadows that we can even see and know and realize how their lives are, being there in the middle of the favela. These kids, like who are like involved in the traffic of cannabis, or their moms being in jail. So there's so many people that we've been honored when we get together and we talk about the path of the freedom, which is cannabis. When we honor our own tribe, that we learn that for people as you, that this makes a change in the world and the energy of the world, and that's for sure. It's making things different. We are now this year more than we can we cannot deny this is a crazy world. We are not prepared for anything. So what we have is our strong belief that freedom, it's about speaking loud about what we believe. So we've been honored all that, so many people. So that, I think that's, it's what pretty much making is what it makes a tribe strong, because we are thousands of people that maybe we even meet yet, or we haven't met, but we are in the same tribe.
That's
I'm
exactly.
sorry for my English.
No, I think that everybody's should be understanding well. I'm certainly understanding well, um, because I feel the same thing. I mean, it's so remarkable. There are so many of us from so many diverse backgrounds who really have learned the same lessons, who have the same values, who are working towards the same kind of world, and it gives me hope for the future. Collectively, we're larger than all but the largest nations on this planet. And if we can learn how to talk to each other like we're talking to each other now, if we can meet each other and learn from each other and inspire each other, we will be able to move this world in the direction that we know that it needs to go. I'm certain of that. Certain. There's so many distinctive things about Latin America that I want to jump into. I'm just going to just briefly mention how inspiring it was to me to be amongst indigenous people who had thousands of years of history of using visionary plants for spiritual purposes. It was another one of those very validating moments where I realized that we're not trying to bring back something new that human beings are just discovering. We're just returning to our ancestors. We're just returning to the plants that human beings have used for millennia upon millennia in order to guide us, in order to put us in touch with our hearts, in order to reset our perspectives, in order to make sure that we're walking the right path. Someday we'll do a whole show on that. One of the other distinctive things I noticed in Latin America was how many of the really most dynamic, active, effective cannabis activists were women. And this is in a land which is known around the world for machismo, for patriarchal structures, for the suppression of women. This is in an area where femicide is a huge problem. Um, uh, how did this happen? Why have women occupied these leading roles in the cannabis movement in Latin America?
Well, I think it's a little bit of what I told you before. A lot of ours are mothers. A lot of ours are responsible for the health of others. And of course, this is our role as a mother, as a head of the family. We cook for other people as well. So we prepare the basic chemistry in every meal. So it's just logical that we also ask for the best medication for our kids, for the first non-lethal medications that we can have. As well, I think this is the first time in the industry, in the times of any industry, that we have as well the roles of CEOs and owners of companies, not just in the United States, but in the world. But another thing that I think is very distinctive, and this is why no one can tell you, is because, again, you're not gonna tell me how I'm gonna save my kid's life. This is a violation of a human rights if you tell me not to save my kid's life, right? So it's really easy. I think also the fact that the plants where we get the medicine is a female is a really clear message, especially when we come from a tribe, when we hear our ancestors, we hear the call of our Pachamama, which is also a female spirit. And we also hear the spirit of the plant calling us for the new generation with people with endocannabinoid system balance. That's all.
Yes. Polita, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak a little bit from what I feel from this side of the border, which I think it feels different. I think, well, Latin America, it's a region with really strong patriarchal system and machismo. You came here. You just have to walk into one street, being a white man, and you can realize, you can breathe that feeling. Well, so in Mexico, which is the country I live now and I which born, Mexico kill 10 women daily just because they are women. So there are different wars taking places in female bodies, right? So I think this is about this is not just about cannabis movement. It's not about just women in cannabis movement. It's about feminism in Latin America, because it's so much violence, it's so much patriarchal system, it's so much the way that our governments, our states use our bodies to war, like, you know, that kind of huge, be a woman, huge amount of women being killed just for being a woman. It's clearly a war of our society, right, being right in the female body. It is that of situation. So what is happening? Why are women in Latin America taking all the scenes? If you can see, feminism in Latin America is just exploding. It's awesome. It's just not Mexico. It's Chile. It's Argentina. It's not just legalization in cannabis. It's just legalization of equal marriage. It's legalization of, I don't know how to, it's abortion that you say in English. It's not just that. It's just being people of the same gender wanna get married. It's people that wanna doesn't want to have a one gender, like you're not binary people. There's so many people being part of this movement. Just there's so many guys also being part of this movement. That's just it's just an answer, I think, of what we are tired of that system. You know, some people said, no, but feminism in Latin America is really violence. And I tell them, so in my country, 10 women are being killed daily. Is it not enough violence for you to take the streets? So I've been cannabis women in cannabis movement. I also get inspired of all that women movement in Latin America. They are going to the street, taking places, and you know, like speaking loud about not just our rights. It's also about the new world that we want to live in which we are not putting in a place that it's automatically, you know, the first oppression that we have in the world, all of us humans, it's being a woman, and it's a oppression that you have before you born, when you are in your mom's belly, you know. So we are so tired of being in this side, in this size, in the operation with the less privilege for so many centuries, that we are taking all the places that we have until the situation change. As same as we are doing in the cannabis movement. We are tired of the state telling moms what is good or not for your kid, but we are also tired that you have to that people in the industry have to sell their items. Why do you have to use a female body always to sell a pipe? We cannot get more creative. Sometimes we have to always sexualize. We have to always make female body seen as an object. We cannot being a different industry, as we are making a different world, we think in that we can create more employees. We are like using even the intersectionality in all our work. So why we are not putting feminists speaking loud also in cannabis movement? I think this is a historical movement, a moment for the women's in the world, not just in the cannabis movement. This is our moment. We need equality, and we are not putting that in this in the table so we can talk about it. No, we are going to the street telling we are tired. We just need to change that, because this world, as we are being in the less privileged place, is not working. It's just enough. It's not machismo is not working. Racism is not working. You know. Prohibition is not working. So let's stop this model of work that we've been practicing, and it's just not working for anybody. War on war is just not working. All that fails. Have to change. So feminism, it's speaking loud in Latin America that we are tired of being killed just to being women. We need, and we are not asking for, we are taking that place. We need this to change, and we need it now. So women in cannabis movement are just taking the same wave, you know, and we are surfing it. This is our moment. We have to live it. We will have to start to live it now. We need equality right now. You know, I think it is pretty much what is happening in Mexico and in Latin America.
Yes, if we don't seize our freedom ourselves, we will never get it. The people who oppress us are not going to willingly give it up to us. We must demand it. So the prominence of female cannabis activists in Latin America is really just a feature of a much bigger, broader feminist movement that's going on, which is challenging patriarchal structures and attitudes across the board. And it's for me, as the son of a feminist mother, the proud son of a feminist mother, and as somebody who believes that one of the lessons that cannabis teaches us is to respect the dignity and the livelihood, the wellness, the place in the world of every single human being. And of course, most especially the human beings who give us all life, women. I hope that this fire that we're seeing down in Latin America spreads, continues to spread, and that it spreads all around the world. It's certainly needed. Perhaps one day we'll be in a world where men and women will make decisions together, and I think that's going to be a far better world than the one that we live in here today. We're rolling into the end of our time together, so I'd like to give each of you the opportunity to speak about anything that we haven't covered yet, and to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing, what you are going to be doing going into the future. Do you want to take the first turn at that, Polita?
Yes, thank you, Steve. Just we've been having a great time. I've been having a great time with you, sharing with you in this new this new way as we are 2020 gathers right now. I really appreciate to share with you. I've been working these times, and I still working in cannabis education since my platform, which is Canativa. So we've been working in move to the digital world, which is pretty much a world right now, and we are we have this strong belief that is education is the tool of social transformation, the social revolution. So I've been doing the same thing. I, I mean, so Canativa is one of my main works right now, and the other thing that we've been doing is like putting that female saying sing loud. So unfortunately, because this situation of pandemic, we cannot show our documentary, which is called Cannabis, which is the first feminist documentary about women in cannabis. We have 30 different countries involved. This is a really cool movie, which 200 women of 30 different countries take their cell phones and make their voices. They speak about which is for them being a woman or a lesbian or a queer people or a non-binary people in the cannabis world. And we're supposed to show at the Cannabis that we cannot even see each other when we were there, you know. But I hope that I have good news anytime soon that our movie being shown this year. So we are working on how kind of presentation we're gonna do. And I will keep working in education, which is education is the most important tool for get the people minds change, so that as we are pretty much doing in Canativa also. And for hopefully we've been sharing some other gathers, inspiring people as you, as Danny. I hope really soon we can hug each other in some place in the world and keep learning from each other and inspiring us. And that's pretty much for me for these times.
I was so impressed by the work of Canativa. Canativa is a really grassroots, on the street, super active educational collective. And I watched them in multiple different venues, like in the middle of a cannabis cup, where everybody's partying, everybody's music, there's a million distractions going on. Where's Polita? Where's Polita's crew? Where's her partner, Pedro? They're talking to a crew of 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 people who are intensely focused on them, learning about cannabis extraction or learning about basic cannabis chemistry or learning about various different wellness uses of cannabis. And it's such an important work, and they do it so very well. We're
Education is our weapon, dude.
and where can the audience stay in touch with you, Polita?
Yeah, totally. So you guys can go to the Canativa webpage or even to the Facebook Canativa with double N, Canativa, D. And for me personally, I'm in social media as Polita Pepper. So you also can contact me as Polita Pepper or in Canativa pages, either Facebook or Instagram. We are in the web now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve.
And I encourage all of you to stay in touch and see what's going on in Latin America. Danielle, same question to you. Anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to cover here? And what are you up to? What are you up to now? What are you looking ahead to in the future?
Well, I think I already said that this was a pleasure. I like Polita. I'm super sad that this is over. We need to have more time. And of course, there's so many things that that we can touch. We can talk about how make this the new normal, how to break the stigma, how to especially give the right place to women and of course to human beings, no matter what you want to be. What makes you unique is what you have inside. So I think my message as well is that knowing that Latin America has a great culture, has a great movement about cannabis. We are here to legalize, to educate, like Polita says. And remember, Uruguay was the first country to legalize cannabis in 2013. So we are on the market and we are doing it. So we are out there. Everybody who's watching as well, I invite every one of you, not right now because we have this situation, but whenever we can go outside, go to Latin America. It's a beautiful country. And of course, we need all the education that we can, especially from people, masters, again, like you, and people that wanted to bring, of course, all the knowledge to educate these beautiful, all the countries in Latin America. I also am the founder of Canal Latino. Canal Latino is the first media channel in education here in the United States for the Latino community. So like Polita, we did give education to the Latino to know more about the cannabis. So we're always giving education online as well. And I'm also promoting everything that you can. We have as well a magazine that it's yearly, but you can also have information there about the legalization and how it works in different states as well. So people here in the United States as well, Latinos, know what to do and how to behave, because this is very important. We are also helping anyone that is a mom in all the world and speaks Spanish with our platform Cana Madres as well, that is part of the Cana Latino. And of course, we wanted to promote everything that is against woman violence, because it's very important that we have this issue. We have to stop the violence against each other, but definitely more against women. So I think that will be it. We're still, you can find more about us in our website, www.canalatino.com. We'll have all the information in Spanish. And as well, we are as Cana Latino, Cana from Cannabis with double N and Latino from Latinos. Yeah, as well in the social media, you can find us as Cana Latino. So I hope you can send all the questions and everything that you have in mind to our way. And we're definitely happy to help and to educate. Again, this is a great opportunity, and thank you very much, Steve, for inviting me and let me be here with my adorable friend Polita, my partner in so many things, and of course with you, and now being part of your tribe, we are gonna definitely change the world even more.
We are doing it.
We are doing it. We are doing it. And I am so impressed with the work that both of you are doing. When we talk about building a global cannabis freedom movement, when we talk about building one tribe, one cannabis tribe, when we talk about one day moving as one to build the world that we want, it's the kind of work that Polita and Danny are doing in the trenches, rolling up their sleeves, teaching people the basic facts about cannabis, because what we know is that once people are introduced to the truth about cannabis, the plant does the rest for us. So thank you both for the great work that you've done. Many of the people who are listening to this podcast are still in countries where prohibition is very, very much in place, where the shadows still look quite dark, where the light looks a long, long way off, where perhaps they may be facing a trial, they may be someplace where they can't get cannabis, they may have to hide their cannabis use from their family, from everybody that they love. They may be living in deep fear. But we are coming. We are coming. We are a global tribe. And I'd like to close out this episode with any advice that you have. Let's start with you, Polita, speaking to our tribe members around the world who may still be living in the shadows.
I'm speaking for people from our tribe living in the shadows. And I speak from Mexico, which is everything illegal here. Still, no matter what people say, we cannot grow our medicine free. We have all of our indigenous people working for some violence, cartels. We have a lot of issues. So the world is not on cannabis is not as we want, but we still it's not gonna be a day without you, people from our tribe, with us, our tribe, being thinking in each other. We are the cannabis people. We are the cannabis tribe. So we are changing that, and we are not alone. There are thousands and millions of us, and no matter what other people say, no matter what our government said, we are walking the freedom path. This is the path. We are right. We've been honored. We are just using plant, and as we using, as we growing, as we share, we are just honoring ourselves and thousands of people who live before us that already know that we need to keep community with nature. And nature are also all of that powerful plants that make us a better species as a human. We are not in the top of the change. We are just an one element of this huge nature. We have to get communicate between species, and every time we get in communion with plants, power plants as cannabis, we are honor that feeling that we are just one more element of this beautiful nature, and we have to that in mind. We gonna change that world when we realize that we had to get in communion with other species. And power plants as cannabis just remember us, open and a door in our mind that never closes again. We are walking the world, the path of the freedom. This is our tribe. This is our world. We want to just keep it going no matter what, no matter who. We are doing it. We are cannabis people. We are changing this world.
I want to put that one on a rhythm track and put it around the world.
Yeah, so keep strong. You are not alone. We are thousands of your tribe.
Our tribe, and we all make each other so strong. Thank you for that inspirational message.
Thank you.
Yeah, Danielle, what advice do you have for our listeners?
I think Polita did a perfect job. And again, that's why she's my soul sister over there. And I just wanted to just join her feeling and join her words and say, free the plant, because we all have an endocannabinoid system. So you can all join us to this tribe. This is exactly for everyone. And of course, research, educate, and act. That's the formula for success for everything in life, I think. So that's what I give it to all of you, so you can all help us and you can all be free of every stigma that you can be.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us here today, for the work that you have done in the past, for the work that you will be doing in the future, for the bright, shining model example that you give to so many people about how to make the changes that we all believe in and want to see. Thanks for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thanks, Jaco. Thanks you, all your team. You are
Thank
awesome, guys. Thank you. You are making a really good job doing this. So thank you.
I hope this conversation gave you a little flavor of some of the things that I saw and I learned on my journey to Latin America in 2019. That right next to the culture of contrabandista, the underground cannabis trade, there's a new and vibrant culture of people who are growing their own cannabis, who are using it for medicine, who are taking care of their children and their families. That a lot of the leaders of this culture in Latin America are women, and that they see their involvement with cannabis as part of a broader social struggle for equity, for justice, against femicide, against machismo, to bring equality to all of the people who have been marginalized, indigenous people, people of different orientations. I think that you've seen some of the passion and the skill, the knowledge that they have, and how they've gone into the trenches, how they've rolled up their sleeves, how they've done the work of really teaching people who don't know about cannabis what it really is, how they've reached across borders, how they've inspired people and been inspired by people in different countries. And when I think about the cannabis tribe, when I think about the potential that we have, I think about hundreds of thousands of us doing this same work all together in our different countries, in our different languages, working within our different religions towards one goal, towards one world with one love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.